This is the continual evolution of the East Coast beat. It is not yet the witching hour. Lately, I've been going to sleep way before the witching hour. But when I wake, I feel tired. So who knows what actually happens um, during that little span of the dark of night. You know what I'm saying? I remember I used to work jobs in the morning as a cook, and if I would have to take a bus, I'd be waking up at like 4 o'clock sometimes in the morning, particularly if I had to open the kitchen. I remember one time I worked at a steakhouse, and I was the first cook in the morning. So the chef, at one point, the chef left, and they were having people come in and out, but I would still come in and open in the morning. And I remember there was this donut shop across the street, and the time at work, the time I was working at the uh, steakhouse, there was about a foot and a half of snow on the ground. I did walk it once or twice, but it was a far walk. I mean, even for a guy that just got out of the army, I was like, I can't walk this every day. So I found a bus that ran once an hour, and it would drop me off like 40 minutes before the manager would open the restaurant. So I'd spend my time at the coffee shop across the street eating blueberry muffins and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes in the freezing ass Greeley cold. I loved it. It was great. I did spend, it was less than a year, but I spent some time living in northern Colorado, in a university town, small uh, university. It was a university in northern Colorado. It wasn't like Fort Collins or Boulder. But I've been to Fort Collins and Boulder. I bought a pretty cool pair of boots in Fort Collins, actually. Um, Fort Collins had a vegan restaurant. Fort Collins had a vegan restaurant that had become so well known that my roommate, who was, she was uh, pretty strict vegetarian. Like, I mean, she definitely no meat, and when it came to like, but she would eat pasta, but she was not one for cheese, and I don't really no, she ate cheese, but she heard about this vegan restaurant in Fort Collins, so I went over, and like I said, I was a cook, and I knew at some point, when I worked as a cook in a basically bookstore cafe, we had a coffee house, and a couple people were like, "Oh, do you have anything vegan?" So I knew eventually if it was hitting small towns in Colorado that vegan would be a skill that a cook should have if you wanted to stay competitive. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yeah, I'd love to go eat vegan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I got the vegan that had the vegan feta. I mean, I had, like I said, I didn't keep it quinoa seed and parsley. You know what I'm saying? If I want vegan food like that, I'll go eat tabbouleh, or I'll eat hummus, or I mean, I don't know, hummus might not even be vegan, but I'll eat hummus, and I mean that's my idea of vegan. But when I went to the vegan restaurant, they basically had a feta cheese and sun-dried tomato, and I think it had mushrooms and something else, and it was a pasta, and it was all vegan. So I figured, hey, if I'm gonna spend, 13 bucks at the time, which was like back in '95. You know what I'm saying? It's like I might as well get the all out. I want big, and it was a huge bowl, and this place was beautiful. Sometimes if you've never had an opportunity to go visit major university towns, you're missing out on some of the best or better architecture, restaurants, clubs. They all tend to pop up around big universities, you know what I'm saying? I remember even hearing that Boulder was still even a popular retirement destination for the same reason. I mean, there were restaurants. If you had enough money to retire in Boulder, Colorado, you know, in a nice little apartment or condo or house or something, and then you know, once every 2 3 weeks, you and your husband or wife could go out to the jazz cafe and you know drink a martini and you know I mean that's how Metropolis, Boulder and Fort Collins were. I mean, it was still rustic. It was still Colorado blue jeans and you know, uh, uh, occasional cowboy hat with, uh, you know, I took third place at bull riding competition belt buckle. You know what I'm saying? Like there were those guys. But I mean, particularly in the university towns, it was university type kids. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're from Colorado doesn't mean they weren't all listening to The Cure. They weren't all listening to the Smiths. They weren't all listening to Leonard Cohen or you know Morrissey or you know what I'm saying. Um, just because they came from Colorado didn't mean that they didn't like fucking Eastern European techno and you know that if ever offered they wouldn't drink vodka ice cold. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're from a certain place doesn't mean they don't have that spirit in them. You know, and that's that international pride. That's the pride, the group of you know beings that can find camaraderie ship. It's because we have the same spark worldwide. It's not that we're this. It's not that we're that. It's just that, you know, when a certain song comes on and you feel your heart start to beat a little bit faster, and, you know, when you can feel that bounce through a crowd or down an empty street or in a subway by yourself, you know what I'm saying? But you know you know, tribe of the moon, what can I say? You know what I'm saying? So, there is that to life. I mean, I can imagine one day I'll simply wake up and it will be as though I had, I could never imagine that it wasn't. If someone, one day I'll wake up and it will be the truth. And what I exist as now, I have no idea what that will work out to be. And like I said, I believe that we can escape, even in this lifetime, we can escape the bounds of humanity and the bounds of man's flesh and the fact that, you know, they say we are born sinners, that we're born capable of killing and capable of lust and capable of violence and capable of theft and capable of evil and capable of malice and you know that we could intentionally um, destroy something um, and receive benefit from it even if it was even if it cost somebody else. Do you know what I'm saying? And there are, you know, traits like that that people have. And like I said, uh, I mean, I've spent most of my life sitting cross legged, alone in a room so that I would not end up in a jail cell or in a, you know, uh, whatever correctional facility, you know, want to call whatever they have, you know what I'm saying? What is my natural lean in life? I mean, just like everybody else, you know, I prefer calm, I prefer quiet, but yet when it gets calm and quiet, I expect to crash. So I turn on the radio in defense of myself being shocked. I'd rather, headbang to the local classic rock radio station and sing, fucking Red Hot Chili Pepper uh, lines, as I try not to listen to the alternative. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, so at my age, I've come to understand that it was all or nothing, make or break. Like I said, it would have I could have just as easily been a multimillionaire several times over. I could have ended up in a psychiatrist institute. I could have mental asylum. I could have ended up a political prisoner. All these things could have happened. Or, maybe my worst reality, maybe the worst reality, most, ego destroying thing was maybe my whole life I was just supposed to be, everything I ever was and nothing more, you know. But along the way, I took time to eat the strawberries and I've smelt the roses. The East Coast beat.